Welcome back to another episode of the Liberated Woman podcast. I am so pleased that you've tuned in once again for another episode full of nuggets of wisdom to help you on your path to wild liberation as an awakening woman. Once again, I am sitting in my jungle hammock, and you can maybe hear the noises around me of the birds. Did you hear that? There are birds just kind of tweeting and chirping away in the sky. There are crickets. There are hummingbirds, colibri, these cute little hummingbirds, which are a beautiful spirit animal totem to bring a lot of joy and the essence of pleasure and fun and playfulness into the field. So I'm really happy when I get to see hummingbirds around me because they remind me to be joyful in life. And this healing journey doesn't always have to be so serious, even though the story I'm about to share with you on today's episode is a little bit dark and a little bit difficult. I definitely experienced some empowerment through it, and the colibri, the hummingbirds, are here to remind me of what it is to be in full joy. And hopefully, the howler monkeys won't join us on our journey today because when they come in, they make a lot of noise, and you'll definitely be able to hear them. But you know what? This is part of the jungle experience, and me being in my full expression and my liberation right now means me being in the jungle, a little bit sweaty, a little bit itchy from all the mosquito bites and the biting ants, sitting in my hammock, about to share this story that happened to me recently since I've been here in Costa Rica. So grab your cup of tea, pull up a chair, curl up on the sofa, wherever you're listening to this podcast episode today. I'm so grateful that you have tuned in and that you are listening to me once again. I do not take it for granted that you have decided to listen to my podcast when there are so many podcasts out there talking about feminine wisdom and feminine energy. But there's always so much incredible information out there and beautiful wisdom to be shared, and there's no competition. I am so grateful that you've tuned in and you're either watching me on YouTube, which, by the way, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you can actually watch this on YouTube. And do you know what I would really love? And I'm going to just shamelessly say it. You know, I love being witnessed. Actually, I've come to this realization since the last episode that actually, where I used to be scared to be witnessed, I actually really enjoy being witnessed. So please share about this podcast on your Instagram stories. Please tag me at underscore Shani Bella so that more women can access this work, more women can hear this. This is a free resource. This podcast takes time, it takes energy, it takes planning, it takes scheduling, it takes uploading and editing and all the Canva covers and all of the thumbnails and everything and the reels. It takes time and it takes energy, but I love doing this so that you can receive these nuggets of wisdom and because I love sharing it. So please help a gal out and share this on your Instagram at underscore Shani Bella. Please tag me, share it with your friends, send the links to other people so that we can spread the love and the celebration and the deep feminine liberation around this planet, our whole. So, today's episode, I want to share with you a story that happened to me recently in the jungles of Costa Rica. We had an ayahuasca retreat come to our retreat center about 2 weeks after we landed here. We were still trying to find our feet. We were still getting to know the land, getting to know our employer, working out how we live together in a one-bedroom casita as well. I'm talking about my partner and I, Josh, how we would live together, work together. We lived together back in the UK before we came here, but we had separate jobs and independence and our own vehicles and all of the above that gave us that space. But here, there's nowhere to hide. And we had this retreat land about 2 to 3 weeks after we arrived, and many lessons were had. So I want to share a few of them with you today because I think you'll find this really powerful and potent. So this ayahuasca retreat just kind of landed in our laps, and the idea was that Josh and I would work on the retreat, help out in the kitchen, help set up the space, assist in the ceremonies, which we've done before in different ceremonies, in exchange for sitting in a ceremony. Now, I wasn't sure about these particular space holders. For me, I need to really feel a sense of trust with the people that are holding space for me, the way that I want you to come into my world and feel a sense of trust when I'm holding space for you. I want you to just feel my energy and be like, yeah, I feel super safe in her presence. I know I'm being held. I want to feel the same when I'm being held, particularly in a plant medicine ceremony. Like, it's not a joke to have an ayahuasca ceremony. And so they were here for the week, and it was honestly chaos. It really was chaotic. And I think I touched upon this a couple of episodes ago when I spoke about arriving to a new land. Yeah, in my episode where I spoke about how we landed in Costa Rica and our time here so far and the challenges we've been facing. One of the things I mentioned shamanically is that when you are working on a spiritual level, when you are working on a shamanic level, you are in reciprocity with the land. So the land actually has to welcome you, or you have to ask, hey, like, am I allowed to be here? Am I allowed to commit this holy work? Am I allowed to hold ceremony and hold space on this land? Are you okay with that? And nobody asked the land if this retreat wanted to arrive here. And actually, nobody really asked me. And I am the land because I am a human and I'm feminine. And the land is feminine. And I've said it many times before, but we are the land and the land is us. We're not separate, even though the patriarchy has us believing that by having a word for nature and land, which is separate from human. But think about it, human nature. We are nature. We are the land. And nobody asked the land if this ayahuasca retreat could just arrive here. But arrive it did. And it brought with it a lot of chaos. And the space holders were chaotic. They kept changing their mind every 5 minutes. There was no clear communication. And we felt extremely undervalued, disrespected, and overworked. Now, did not come to Costa Rica to feel that way. I did not come here to feel disrespected, overworked, and underpaid and undervalued. No. No, I've like spent years on my healing journey, knowing my worth and knowing what my value is. So I'm not here to do that for free for you, just to sit in a ceremony with you when I don't even know if I actually trust you in the first place. And, I'm a witch, I'm an oracle, I'm a psychic. I have really good intuition and I've spent years honing my intuition. Something told me that it wasn't really safe to sit in ceremony with these people, but I was like opening up and seeing and kind of testing and teasing to see if it was right for me to sit with them. They did 4 nights of ceremony, but they were here for 6 nights. And, I assisted in one of the ceremonies. I stayed up really late till like 3 in the morning, assisting in the ceremony. From my heart, I served with pleasure. But the next morning, I was up at like 6:30 making breakfast for the participants. It was a lot. It was full on. Like, we really worked our butts off the entire week. And then it got to the final night, which was Saturday. Now, bearing in mind that I'd been doing a dieta prep for this ceremony, when you go into a plant medicine ceremony, particularly something as strong as ayahuasca, you do something known as a dieta, and that involves cutting out sugar, salt, oils, anything sweet, caffeine, carbs, essentially like breads, pastas, rice, nothing. So I was eating really clean for like 9 days. I'm feeling pretty good about it, but we're in the jungle, it's hot, we're tired, we're working really hard. So I've been doing this dieta, we both had been for 9 days, and it gets to the final night of the ceremony and they've invited people in from outside of the retreat. So, first of all, we just had the retreat participants here all week who were lovely, beautiful people, but going through their own process, their own journey, their own emotions with the medicine. And then they invited these external people to come in on the last night. Beautiful. So, it was the full moon, and I got my bleed because I always bleed on the full moon. And Josh had told the female facilitator that I was on the first day of my bleed. Now, if this was an issue for her, she should have come to find me and talk to me about it. As a good space holder, I would expect that person to come and find me and say, hey, Shani, I hear you're on the first day of your bleed. How are you feeling, sister? Is there anything I can do to support you? Do you need anything? How can I help you? But instead, she just disappeared for the whole day, took a couple of the participants with them. I think they went to the beach or to a swimming pool or whatever. Cool. Go and rest and do your thing. You're facilitating a ceremony all night. But she didn't come and find me. She didn't come and talk to me. So I assumed it was fine for me to come and sit in ceremony I get to the ceremony, everyone's dressed in white. We're sitting in the circle. We're like 5 minutes before the ceremony is starting. They're still setting up the freaking space. I mean, come on. They're still setting up the space 5 minutes before the ceremony is starting. When I say chaos, I mean chaos. So I get there and I go up to her and I'm like, hey, I know Josh told you I'm on the first day of my bleed, and you mentioned that it might not be okay for me to sit in ceremony, but I really need to receive tonight. I've been giving you all week. I've been doing your cleaning. I've been setting up the space, assisting in ceremony, getting up, making the breakfasts, the lunches, sorting out the casitas. I need to receive. And she looked at me and she said, you can't sit in ceremony tonight. It's the full moon and you're bleeding. You're going to bring bad energy into the space. What? Like, what the fuck? How can a woman say that to me? That my blood, my bleed, my holy creation from my womb will bring bad energy into the space. What the fuck? Like, what the? And I had to stand there and look her in the eye and say, but I need to receive tonight. I've waited all week. I've been doing dieta for 9 days. I've been assisting you all week. And the deal was that I did this in exchange for a ceremony. I didn't get paid for that, for holding this retreat. I didn't get paid not a penny. Totally separate from the other work I'm doing here. And for a woman to say that to me, and everybody else is sitting in the ceremony and I'm mindful because I'm like, shit, they're about to go into a really deep process. I can't show my emotions in this moment because I can't spill out my leakiness onto other people that are about to go through a really deep process with a plant medicine journey. And she totally dismissed me. She just went, yeah, sorry, you can't sit in ceremony. No explanation. No, let's go to the side and talk about this. No, I'm so sorry I didn't come and find you earlier. I was out. Nothing. No support, no space holding, no reverence for the feminine, for my bleed, for my blood, for the earth. Nothing. And in that moment, I chose to walk away. And I was like, yeah, my intuition was right. It's not safe to be in their space because a good space holder would never wait till 5 minutes before the ceremony and say to a participant, you can't sit in the ceremony because you're bleeding and it's the full moon and you will bring bad energy. I could not believe it. What I came to understand about that was several things. Firstly, what it meant for me was not that I will bring bad energy, but you cannot handle the power of me when I'm on my bleed. That's what she should have said. You will bring a lot of power to the space, and I'm sorry, but I've got 16 other people here to take care of, and I can't handle that. Cool. Be honest about it. Makes you a pretty bad shaman, in my opinion. But talk to me about it in advance of the ceremony. Make me feel safe and respected and held, not dismissed and unheard, like shunned like I'm some sort of bad energy for having my bleed. Oh my God. It's not, it's not enough that the patriarchy have shamed and shunned women and called us dirty and sinful for having blood that literally allows us to birth new life into this earth. But a medicine woman, a woman who is meant to hold space with reverence for the plants and the medicine and the land and the earth. How dare she? How dare she tell me that I bring bad energy? What the hell? Whew. You can tell I'm quite passionate about this. Pretty angry that it happened. I came back to my casita and I did my own ceremony. And I understand that in certain lineages and traditions, particularly in the Colombian tradition, they do not allow women to sit on their bleed. They don't allow them to sit in plant medicine ceremonies on their bleed. But in those situations, the shaman talks to the woman in advance of the ceremony. And either they get to sit out of the maloka, out of the ceremony space, and they have one-to-one attention from another shaman. They're held all night. or they are talked to about it in advance and made to feel safe. Not the way it happened to me. This just showed me how deeply internalized patriarchy is, that even lies within a woman who is in the medicine world, who has held many, many ceremonies around the world, globally held medicine ceremonies around the world. I want you to know that your bleed is so empowering, that it is the literal portal and gateway to heaven, that no other woman should ever shun you or make you feel ashamed for your blood, for your bleed, for your power, for your portal. I will never make you feel that way. I love you. I see you. I hear you. I honor you. I witness you. And I respect you. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Liberated Women podcast and for listening to this really difficult story and challenge that I faced, but that actually truly empowered me to realize how important it is to be a safe space holder and how the people that come into my world feel that way. And I want you to walk into my world and just instantly feel like a sigh of relief and a breath, that you're going to be held and that you're going to be carried and nurtured and loved and never made to feel like a burden and never made to feel like you are an inconvenience and that you bring bad energy into the space, and that I can't handle that because I will always handle it. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode. I can't wait to tune in with you again next week.